In this tutorial, we'll take a brief look at the all-new Scrollytelling element inside of Vev. The new Scrollytelling element lets you sync transitions of blocks based on the user's scroll, creating layered visual stories as your audience scrolls through your content. There's a variety of different transition types to choose from, including horizontal scroll and fade for a more traditional Scrollytelling effect. Let's start off by showing an example of a simple 3-block Scrollytelling section. So once we come into the design editor, we can see that we have a single section here from the layers panel, which is a Scrollytelling section. If I hover over the section and press the pencil icon, this will take us into the block editor. We can see that I have 3 blocks, the first one saying introducing, the second saying the all new, and the third saying Scrollytelling. We can also see here as well that we have a text box and an image inside of the layers. I've also applied the layer background as well for the block by clicking on the block and going to the background option here in the style panel on the right hand side. If I press done to come out of the block editor, we can then go back into the main design editor and we can see when I'm scrolling up and down that this is transitioning the way that I want it to by using the stack preset. If I press the properties tab with the Scrollytelling section selected, we have more options here on how we can change the transition. So whether I want that to be a horizontal scroll effect, we can change the speed. And if we really want to go into a bit more detail, we can change the actual transition between each of the slides. So say you have 10 different slides, you can change transition between each and every single one of those blocks. So if I scroll down, we can see now that we have this as a nice horizontal effect. I can also change this and choose the fade effect as well. So we can see we have a traditional Scrollytelling effect in here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to build this from scratch so you can get a better idea of how this kind of content is made. So first I'm just going to create a new page. And then I'm going to go into the add menu and search for Scrollytelling. And here we can see we have the Scrollytelling component here. And this can either be an element or a section. So if I select this from the add menu, if I click and drag it onto the canvas, it will add it as an element in that current section. Or if I hover to the top or bottom of the page, you'll see this blue box that fills the width of the page, which will signal that this is going to be added as a section. So if I click now, that then adds that into place. And then if I go back to the layers panel, we can see that we have this Scrollytelling section in place here. So again, I'm going to press the pencil icon to go into the block editor. And I'm going to start off by just using this first block and adding that background image. So that's the background image applied. So now I'm going to go in and select the image block, draw that in, and then select that shape that we had. I can then also just refine the sizing of this a little bit. And then I'll make this centered using the constraints at the top here. We'll go a bit smaller. There we go. And then I could also set this to be center-centered. Make sure the constraints are working correctly. And that way we can ensure that this is working responsibly as well. I'll then go in and add my text. And then I will type in introducing, changing the size of this. So I'll make that white, make this uppercase. And I'll also set this to say 24 VW, which is what I believe I had it in the original place. Again, I'm going to center this, center the text, set the constraints to center, and that's our first block here. So I could do the same again by going in and adding more blocks. So I can press plus to add a new block. So now we have our second block here. What I'm actually going to do is press Command C to copy this block and paste that 2 more times. So now we have some copies of the blocks that we've just created. So instead of having to go in and rebuild everything from scratch every time, we can simply copy and paste blocks and of course content into the blocks as well. So now it's very easy for me to go into this second block. Maybe want to go through and rename these as well so I have a bit more of a visual identity. So I'll go to block 2, change this background to the second one, change the text to say the all new, and then change this icon as well to the blue shape that we have here. So that's the second one done, nice and quick. And then onto the third one, we can again change the background image, change the foreground image, and change the text to say Scrollytelling. And that's those 3 blocks done. So now we can then go back and press done to go back into the main design editor. With the section selected, we'll go to properties, and then we can go in and change this to stack, which was that original design that I showed you at the beginning. Now, this is just a brief introduction into Scrollytelling. There are so many opportunities to create something truly unique and attention-grabbing by having a play around and letting yourself be creative. We recommend having a play with the different transition speeds, presets, and you can even try layering Scrollytelling elements on top of one another.